I like to give long the weave. I like to.
Yeah, you like to weave things in.
But when you do the weaves, and you have to be very smart to do weaves. When you do the weave, look at this. Just in this one thing, we're talking about little pieces all over here, but it always ends up home. No, it comes back home.
Yeah.
For the right people. For the wrong people, it doesn't come back home, and they end up in the wilderness. You're not a Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. Nobody's going to know who Khabib is, but.
They know
he was not bad, right? That guy.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
But that's your kind of
your
person.
weave is getting wide. We're getting wide with this weave.
But isn't it
I want to
much
bring
better?
it back to tariffs.
What if a single person in a single podcast episode could shape the direction of a presidential election? When Donald Trump appeared on the Joe Rogan show, it wasn't just another interview. It was a power play in the world of earned media. And it showed how, with the right platform, literally just a guy in his garage can bypass the traditional gatekeepers of conventional media and speak directly to the people. And today we're going to unpack why this matters, not just for politics, whether you like Trump or not, but for anyone looking to build influence, trust, and authority in their space. Now, to understand why this is so powerful, let's look at how media has changed. For decades, traditional media outlets held a monopoly on public opinion. Places like CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS set the agenda for what people talked about. If a politician, a brand, or influencer wanted a voice, they often had to go through these gatekeepers to get it. But that monopoly is fading and fading fast. And today, platforms like podcasts, YouTube, and social media have democratized media access to where now anyone with something to say can build a direct line to their audience, to the future president of the United States, with no middleman in the way. Podcasts in particular have emerged as one of the most trusted and powerful tools for sharing unfiltered, long-form conversational messages. Now let's talk about the Joe Rogan Experience. And it's a podcast many of us know for these deep, unscripted conversations and having a massive audience. Rogan's audience trusts him because he's not scripted, right? That's really the point, and it's really powerful. And his format gives his guests the space to speak openly. Often this is the only time or place they can do that without the confines of like a 30-second soundbite or an edited TV interview. And last month, when Donald Trump appeared on Joe Rogan's show, he reached millions in a direct, unfiltered way, bypassing the traditional media entirely. And he wasn't speaking to just any audience. He was speaking to a group of listeners who likely already had questioning the mainstream media narratives. For Trump, it was a perfect way to connect with voters who felt a little disillusioned with the media's portrayal of him. And this wasn't just an interview, it was a demonstration of how earned media can sidestep conventional barriers and let someone take control of their own story. And now let's contrast this to Kamala Harris, who was invited onto Joe Rogan's podcast, chose not to partake in it. Now, was this the thing that cost her the election? I don't know, but you sure can see a difference in how people were able to get to know and relate to Donald Trump and maybe not Kamala Harris as much in a situation where she had a very shortened election process. Did this really hurt her? And was this demise not going on a podcast? Is that what cost Kamala Harris the election? But maybe a bigger question is, what does this mean for you as a brand, creator, or an entrepreneur? Let's set aside politics for a moment. Whether you like Rogan, Trump, or Kamala Harris, this means that, like Trump or Joe Rogan, you have the opportunity to own your message, control your narrative, and reach people directly. Traditional media can twist, edit, and ignore your story as much as they like. But if you own the media channel, if you have this earned media, then you get to be the gatekeeper. Now imagine the power of that. If a single podcast episode can impact an election of arguably the most powerful country in the world, think of the potential you have to shape your industry's conversation, build trust with your brand, and get more customers. More and more, we're seeing conventional media's grip loosening as people turn to platforms they trust. And that's often independent voices on podcasts, YouTube channels, and social media directly. So what's the takeaway? If you don't own your media, someone else owns your story for you. Now, what is it about podcasting that sets it apart from platforms like YouTube or social media? I think it's its unique intimacy and trust factor. In a world where we're all scrolling so fast on our phones, And watching this 30-second clip, podcasts offer an environment where audiences aren't just watching, but genuinely listening. And the format allows for longer, more in-depth conversations and building relationships and trust in a personal and authentic way. I'm biased, of course, but I think podcasts create a space for a real nuanced kind of deep discussion that often doesn't happen elsewhere in our lives. At Castos, we understand this, and that's why we're dedicated to helping creators just like you making the most of this really unparalleled medium of podcasting. So if you're a brand or creator, now is the time to think about owned and earned media as a strategy. What channels can you control? How can you reach your audience directly without relying on traditional media to tell your story? Start with the basics. Choose a platform, create valuable content, and engage with your audience. At Castos, we know podcasting is one of the most effective ways to do this, and to see that a single podcast episode may have changed the course of a presidential election is really validation for the 10 years that we've been doing this, and for good reason. Podcasting is an intimate, trusted, deep channel and allows you to go places with your audience that nowhere else can. Now, I'd say don't expect immediate results with podcasting. It is the long game. It's not about going viral. It's about building trust and credibility and influence over time. But the more you own your narrative, the stronger your connection with your audience will be. You know, I think whether you like the guy or not, Trump's appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast serves as a great reminder for all of us just how powerful owning the distribution of your content can be with your audience. It's a lesson for all of us, whether you won last month or not, of how to own the narrative going forward with ourselves and our brand and our story. So if this situation and this video got you thinking about the power of earned media, give us a thumbs up here and let us know in the comments what you think the role of earned media will be in the future in shaping public opinion. If you're ready to take control of your message, we'd love to help out. Head to castos.com to learn more about how we can help you in your podcasting journey.